All right, everybody, calm down. Bitcoin went down a little bit, and half of crypto Twitter is acting like they just watched the sun get shut off. Relax, this is not the end of civilization as we know it. You are not being hunted. You are not about to wake up in a FEMA camp because Bitcoin dipped a few percentage points. This is what markets do. They go up, they go down, and they occasionally shake out the people who never should have been here in the first place. Half of the people panicking today bought their entire stack with Klarna payments and Celsius PTSD. So of course they're scared. Meanwhile, all of the actual long-term holders of Bitcoin are looking at this dip and salivating because nothing has changed. The network is fine. The hash rate is fine. In fact, half of the internet went down and everything was fine. The Bitcoin protocol didn't explode. Nobody accidentally printed 1 trillion coins. All that happened is that the price moved and suddenly every single guy with a Robinhood login thinks that he's living through an extinction level event. So here's the truth. This is a totally normal transition. The early holders, yes, they're selling a little bit. The new buyers are stepping in. The market is rotating just like every other market on earth. This is not a death spiral. This is not a meltdown. This is a normal day. If you are terrified, take a deep breath, okay? You survived your boss. You survived your childhood. You survived processed food and that one relationship that you should not have been in. You can survive a little Bitcoin dip. You will be fine. Bitcoin is fine. The only thing collapsing right now is the emotional stability of people who should not have been trading anything more volatile than a savings account. Let's look at who is actually selling right now. People online are acting like there is some stampede out of Bitcoin, but there is not. This is not reality. We have seen some sustained selling from the long-term holders. However, the only people that are really selling right now are the people with very high time preference and low time horizons. This year, you've seen the people selling who were mining Bitcoin when it was cheaper than a gas station sandwich, and the new people who literally cannot stomach volatility. So a lot of the sellers, they're not scared. They're just cashing out very tiny slices because they've been holding this asset longer than a lot of you have even been alive. This does not mean panic. This is regular housekeeping. These wallets have been sitting on coins since a time when half of you were still figuring out how to use deodorant, okay? The owner will move a little stack, collect some profit because they want to buy a private jet, and go back to ignoring the entire crypto space for another 10 years. And then we're seeing retail Twitter melting down like they're witnessing a global catastrophe. Relax. Rich people taking profit is not a disaster. It is normal behavior. It is the kind of behavior that you would also engage in if you had a portfolio that looked like a cheat code in a video game. The selling right now is the financial equivalent of someone trimming their lawn. It's slow, it's calm, and it's entirely optional. If you are panicking about it, that is a you problem, not a them problem. The early holders are not running from the asset. They are bored millionaires rotating out of a fraction of their bag. So in other words, the market is not collapsing. You are just watching old money stretch its legs. So just breathe. And Bitcoin is not down suddenly because it became worthless. It is down because the entire global market is having a mild anxiety attack right now. Stocks, bonds, crypto, commodities, everything is looking like it got a surprise audit. You need to think about the regime that we're in. Investors are not sprinting away from Bitcoin right now. What they're doing is that they are taking a small step back from everything. And this is what happens when uncertainty rises in the market. People slow down. They reassess when they read the words AI bubble absolutely everywhere. They hold cash for a second. It's not dramatic. It's not catastrophic. It is exactly what any functioning brain does under unclear conditions. But of course, everybody online just acts like this is the end of days. People on Twitter are acting like Jerome Powell personally walked into their living room and unplugged their ledger. Calm down. The world is not ending. The market is just being cautious. This is what caution looks like. And you have to remember, Bitcoin is viewed as a risky asset to the broader market. We're all orange pilled. We know that it's the least risky asset, but still we are early, and that is not what people allocate to when conditions are unclear. We still have the institutions waiting for more crypto clarity. They're not dumping their portfolios necessarily. They're not rushing for the fire exit. They are simply doing doing what responsible people do when the Federal Reserve gives interviews that sound like a riddle. It's totally normal to see them slow their activity, let the dust settle a little bit, and reallocate when the macro conditions start to stabilize. And retail traders, well, they hate this because it's boring. They want constant motion. They want nonstop green candles because they have the patience of a feral toddler. They do not understand that pausing is actually part of process. The markets are allowed to breathe. They do not need to sprint for your entertainment 24 hours a day. Right now, the cautious tone that is underpinning all of the global markets is temporary. It is not structural. It is not the beginning of a global crypto purge. It is the same behavior that you see in every asset class during periods of uncertainty. People wait, people observe, and people do react slower. Now, sometimes faster in the crypto sphere because of liquidity and leverage. This kind of thing will show up in this market a little bit more, but still, in my opinion, no reason to be worried. If you think that this is some catastrophic red flag, you need to reconsider your expectations. You cannot demand that Bitcoin behave like a stable asset 24/7 while you treat it like it's a slot machine. The market is doing something very normal right now. It is being conservative, so take a breath. The short term is boring, yes. The long term, though, is unchanged. Bitcoin is not being singled out at all. The entire market is taking a timeout. You should too. And this is where I want to address one of the funniest parts of the entire panic, because people are acting like Bitcoin is collapsing at the exact moment that it has the strongest infrastructure in its entire history. This is like freaking out about a house falling apart right after someone replaced the foundation, the wiring, the plumbing, the roof, and installed a security system that belongs in a government building. Look at the facts. Bitcoin has regulated ETFs. Bitcoin has institutional custody that does not require a burner laptop. Bitcoin has sovereign interest. Bitcoin has corporate interest. Bitcoin has liquidity so deep you could drop a yacht into it and nobody would ever notice. And somehow people are scared because the price wiggled. Do you remember 5 to 7 years ago when Bitcoin required a sketchy website, a prepaid card, and a search history that you would not want anybody to ever see? Today, you can buy Bitcoin on apps that are designed for people who can barely operate their phone without tech support. The market is more mature, it's more regulated, and it's more accessible than it's ever been, and that is the trend still. The institutions are not running away. They are embracing the technology. They are sitting patiently with their clean little balance sheets, and they're waiting for approval processes that move slower than a tax refund. They are waiting for the volatility of the macro environment to cool a little bit. They are waiting for the conditions that they prefer. They're not abandoning the asset. They are doing exactly what institutional investors have always done. They wait for clarity and then they size their positions. And all the retail traders are acting like the nodes have exploded. They act like the miners have packed up and have went home. None of that has happened. The hash rate is strong, the liquidity is strong, the infrastructure is strong. Bitcoin today is a fully supported global asset with rails built by the biggest financial players on earth. If you are scared right now, you are not paying attention to the actual progress. You are only staring at a short-term price chart like it's some medical emergency. Bitcoin did not lose strength. Bitcoin has gained strength, and the only thing that weakened was your attention span. And this is where I want to talk about redistribution a little bit, and not the kind that politicians talk about on TV, the real kind, the market kind of redistribution, the kind where the early holders pass new coins to new holders who are not living in their parents' basement. Right now, Bitcoin is leaving the wallets of people who mined it on hardware that could barely run a video file and moving it into portfolios of institutions that actually understand risk management. This is a good thing. In fact, this is one of the healthiest developments Bitcoin can experience. A lot of people panic when they see old wallets move. They assume it is a disaster. They behave like a fossil stirred in its sleep. They instantly imagine some huge crash coming. No, this is what should happen. Early adopters eventually reduce their positions. New participants accumulate what they sell. This broadens the ownership base and strengthens the whole market. Bitcoin is becoming less dependent on a small group of early whales. It is moving into the hands of funds, companies, family offices, and long-term investors with real frameworks and real discipline. And this is going to result in better liquidity, better stability, and better resilience over time. This is a natural market cycle. And all of the retail traders, they will scream while forgetting this is exactly how every single maturing asset behaves. The early holders lighten up a little bit, the new holders step in, the supply becomes more distributed. Markets hate concentration. Markets love diversification. And right now, Bitcoin ownership is diversifying more than ever. The coins are not disappearing anywhere. They are literally just changing hands. And the new hands do not panic every time the price moves 3% in either direction. They hold, they manage, and they plan. So if this phase scares you, it is not because there is anything wrong with Bitcoin. It is because the market is growing up faster than your timeline is. Redistribution is not a threat. It is the entire point of open markets. Relax. The adults are taking up their positions. So time to address this big, scary concept rattling around in some people's heads right now, this supply overhang. People talk about it like it's some supernatural force that is haunting the chart. It is not. It is literally just early holders selling a bit more than usual. That is all. There's nothing mystical happening here. There is no conspiracy. There is no secret cabal dumping on you. There is simply a finite group of long-term holders who are finally distributing some of their coins after more than a decade of sitting still. They will not do this forever. They cannot do this forever. Eventually, they will run out of coins to move, at least whoever wants to sell. People are acting like this selling pressure is totally infinite. It is not. It is a short-term imbalance. The only reason this ever feels dramatic to some traders is because they check the chart every 10 minutes like they're monitoring a patient in critical condition. If you step back for even a second, you will see the pattern. Selling pressure increases, it eventually declines, demand will absorb it, and then the market resets. Any entire overhang ever is a temporary phase that is created by normal human behavior. It is never a structural flaw, never a permanent condition, just a moment where supply is ahead of demand until the rotation completes. So if you are panicking, for the love of God, just stop. Nothing permanent is happening. If there is a supply overhang, it always fades. It always does. The only thing that will not fade is the memory of how dramatic the internet gets over something this predictable. You will be fine. Bitcoin will be fine. The selling will never last forever. And this is the slide where I'm going to remind you all of a very simple fact that nothing is wrong with Bitcoin. Nothing. The fundamentals are not cracking. The protocol is not malfunctioning. The network is not glitching. The only thing malfunctioning is the emotional stability of certain traders out there. Let's look at the reality. The supply is still fixed. That has not changed. The halving schedule is intact. That has not changed. The hash rate is near record levels. That means the miners are confident. The security is strong. Adoption is growing. The institutions are still here. Corporations still have exposure. None of the pillars of Bitcoin have weakened at all. Now you compare that to the behavior on social media right now. People are acting like the chain got hacked. They're acting like the miners shut down overnight. They're acting like someone found a way to print extra coins, but none of that has happened at all. The only thing that happened was a price correction, a normal one. Can you imagine the fear if people were exposed to an actual Bitcoin market that we've lived through, a 70 or 80% drawdown? This is nothing compared to what we've been through before. Do not lose sight of the end goal here. Every single time Bitcoin dips, you see this exact same cycle, and it's getting boring. You see the trolls come out, then the panic influencers, they all show up, start delivering their emotional TED Talks about how everything is falling apart. And then the people who bought the top, they start writing their dramatic comments like they're narrating a memoir about loss. And then eventually everyone realizes the fundamentals have never changed because Bitcoin is not held together by hype. It is held together by math, human incentives, and global infrastructure, as well as millions of users who have zero intention of ever going backward. The people quitting today are the same people who quit at every dip in the last decade, and the beautiful thing is they never last. They never do. So if you're scared right now, just remember that you are reacting to noise and not facts. The reality is that the fundamentals are stable. The technology is stable. The price is the only unstable thing in the room, and that is normal. Stop letting temporary volatility convince you that permanent foundations suddenly disappeared. They did not. Bitcoin is doing exactly what it always has done. The only thing that changed was your heart rate. We have redistribution from early holders. We have temporary selling pressure. We have short-term risk aversion across all of the global markets. We have new institutional demand waiting for calmer conditions. We have fundamentals that are as strong as ever. And if you put all of those things together, you get what is called a setup and not a collapse. The next major repricing cycle always begins the exact same way. It begins when the fear is high, narratives are confused, confused, and retail traders convince themselves like they're living through some financial thriller. Then slowly the selling dries up, the demand steps in, the liquidity returns, the price recalibrates, and everyone who panicked then looks back and pretends that they never said a word. You are in the middle of that early stage right now, the phase where the loudest people are the most scared and the quietest people are accumulating, the phase where fundamentals matter more than emotions, the phase where patience pays more than panic does. Bitcoin did not fail, Bitcoin did not weaken, Bitcoin did not retreat. The market simply went through a rotation that every mature asset experiences. The next leg begins after this rotation finishes, not before, not instantly, after. So if you can stay calm here, you will thank yourself later. If you cannot, the market will teach you the lesson anyway. It always does. Bitcoin is fine. The next move comes after the noise. And if you want to get in and position before the Bitcoin price momentum returns, well, you can do it the right way with Swan Private. The Swan Private team works with high net worth families, individuals, and companies who want to build generational Bitcoin positions safely, securely, and strategically. We help clients understand the macro forces that are driving this transition and how to own real Bitcoin and not paper IOUs. Because the goal isn't to trade this, because the goal, remember, is not to trade the crashes, okay? It is to survive and thrive through all of them. Visit swan.com/no-second-best to learn more. And if you want more incredible Bitcoin insights every single day, hit the like button and subscribe to Swan. We're here leading you through the greatest wealth transfer of human history every single day, and we want to thank you for being here with us. Have a terrific day. Do not party too hard. Class dismissed.